The views and opinions expressed on Lifeguards Off Duty are those of its hosts and guests exclusively. They do not represent any entity, organization, or municipality.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Katchmar.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar, the Jersey Shore #1 lifeguard-themed video podcast.
Watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook Live. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever streaming service you prefer.
If you would like to contact us, send an email to drkatchmar@icloud.com. Follow us on Instagram at lg.association.
All right, let's get started.
Let's start the show.
Let's do it.
Michael Katchmar, welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty. Today's date is January the 25th, the year of our Lord 2022. We don't have Sean today. He's studying very hard. He's got finals or whatever he's doing. I know he's got a lot of classes. But we have Tyler, and Tyler's working the computer today.
What's up, guys?
And we want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're just want to make an announcement. We are now on Rumble. So you guys could go to Rumble and watch us live and make
somehow
some
we
comments.
somehow we already have 4 followers on that.
Yeah, Rumble's a great platform. We're on Spotify. We're on the great Joe Rogan station, Spotify. We're on Apple iPod or iCast. We're on also Facebook. Where else? We Twitch and Twitter. Did I say that wrong? Apple.
It's podcasts.
It's
I think you said Apple iCast.
Podcast. Sorry, and Twitch and Twitter. We're all over the place. So
follow our Instagram,
right.
lg.association. Cash, you want to throw the email out there?
Yeah. So the email for us is drkatchmar, KACHMAR @icloud.com. icloud.com. You want to go to there and send us an email if you want to come on the show, you want to talk to us, you want to communicate. So it's drkatchmar, KACHMAR @icloud.com. We got a webpage, which we're going to have some product there soon, some nice t-shirts and stuff. And that's Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center.com. And you can go there. And we have another show too. It's Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Katchmar. So I want to throw a plug in for that. That's a political medical show, and which is pretty hot right now. So you could watch us before we get thrown off, and
before you get flagged.
Before we get flagged. No, we're trying to pretty good. So anyway, today we want to. I have a topic that I want to talk about, and it's called. I call it bad water. Bad water, and I'm going to show you the whiteboard here. So I make this term bad water. A lot of people say, "What do you mean by bad water?" And that kind of goes with the idea of people ask me, why some days people drown in the water and sometimes the water, they don't drown. They could go and frolic around, have no problems. Mm-hmm. Because the water changes. There's a lot of different things that happen to the water that change over time. So we're going to try to explain today what bad water really means and how you could predict if somebody's going to get in trouble and possibly drown. I could do it to a high level of certainty. I guarantee you, every captain, supervisor, and probably a lot of lifeguards who have 3 years, 4 years experience will be able to do the same thing.
Yeah,
they'll be able to know and predict when are you going to have somebody who could potentially drown. It's not just a person, but it's the environment. So let's talk about bad water.
Can I show you a video before we do
Yeah,
that?
Sure. Yeah. What's the video of? What's the video of?
This is from Winter Storm Izzy about a week ago.
Oh, is this the Jersey coast?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at
wave.
it. Is that you? Is that Tyler? Is this Tyler?
I wish that was me. But look at that wave. You don't see that.
Where was that at? What part of Jersey?
This was I saw waves like this in Seaside.
Yeah, a lot of times they're in Point Pleasant Inlet on the south side of the jetty there. You get some big waves.
So yeah, that's definitely an example of
that's double head. Is that double head? Was that double head?
Oh yeah, of course.
Wow. That's just recently. That was last week, New Jersey.
This was last week.
Wow. You can see the water's cold. Look at it, see how you see the temperature of the water. People say, "Oh, how do you know?" You look at water. How do you know what temperature is? That water there is cold.
Yeah,
you could tell it's got like
but look at how big that wave is.
That's double head high.
It looks like more than that.
You got to go by the back of the wave. You got to go to the back of the wave. Yeah,
but that's scary.
Yeah, that's a nice wave, and it's cold. What do you think the water is? Probably like 40.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably a little bit warmer.
yeah.
than
You can
here.
tell by the color. Always can tell by the. Most of the time, you can tell by the color in Jersey coast.
So like, what is causing this type of surf with a storm out there like that?
Well, it's the wind. It's the. I'll make a thing about bad wave because we're going to talk about waves. But here's the thing: to answer that question, what makes a wave, all right, is basically three things. And I might be not 100%, but it's the wind, how hard the wind blows.
Okay.
So 10 miles an hour is going to have one size wave as opposed to 100-mile-an-hour wind. So the wind will help make a wave. The other thing is how long the wind blows for. So it's time. So how hard the wind blows, how hard it blows. Okay. So when so it's 10 knots, 20 knots at 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours. And then the third thing, which is very important, is called the fetch. How long the wind blows and for how hard over how much area.
And that gives you
Waves.
your wave periods, right?
Yes, it
that
changes
gives you the distance between waves.
Yes, it changes up everything, right?
So something really interesting that I saw, there's this YouTube show. It's called Weird Waves. And this dude, Dylan Graves, I think his name is. He travels the world and searches
for waves,
for like the cool, but they're novelty waves.
Right.
Like the majority of the waves he's surfing are not in the ocean. He surfs this one tidal wave in England. It's called the Sven Bourne, I think.
Right.
And it's a river where the tide comes in once a day, and you got to catch that wave, and you can ride it for up to 9 miles.
Right.
But if you miss that wave, you're done. But the point I wanted to bring up was he surfed in the Great Lakes one of these times, and because that distance for the wind to blow is so much smaller on the Great Lakes, you can get really big waves at really short periods.
Right.
So he was surfing like 9-foot waves with like 4 or 5 second intervals. So he's ducking under a wave and just getting cracked immediately.
So the answer, when you're talking about when there's a current against the wind, so where you get really big waves is in the Gulf Stream. So Gulf Stream, right, is going from south to north. This is off of Florida, off this coast of the United States. So when you have a current, it could be flat ocean, right? But the water is moving in the northerly direction, maybe 3 knots, 4 knots. I don't know exactly the speed. Now, if you have a wind coming from the northeast, the opposite way, blowing against the Gulf Stream, you will create huge or big waves. And they actually call them elephants. There's other places in the world where you get really the same scenario. I think it's off the coast of Africa. All right. In different places in the world where you get a current against the wind. Or the other place you get big waves is when you got tide going out in a river, like Barnegat Inlet, for example. When you have the current running out, right, and it hits the ocean, that's going to make waves.
And you
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think something that's worth pointing out, and this is why the waves at Nazare get so big, is you need the depth in the water to support the size of the wave.
And the other thing, and I don't know about that place, but there's places, maybe Nazare, but there's other places where underground structures will also make a wave. So let's just say you have a big swell coming in. It's 80 feet, 30 feet, whatever. And before it hits the beach, right, there's a lump, a mountain or hill in the water, underneath the water. When that wave hits that'll jack it up. So you could have actually waves crashing a mile out or half a mile out, then it subsides, and then you get another wave.
And that's a good way when you're looking at the water to see where a sandbar might be.
Right.
If you see a set rolling in, the wave jacks up, breaks, and then rebuilds, and then hits the sandbar closer to shore.
Yeah, there's a formula. I think that, and again, I wasn't prepared to talk about waves today like this level, but I think it's 0.75%. The wave height can only be 0.75% of the depth of the water.
And that's why at Nazare, they get so big, because the water in that, I guess it's a bay.
Right. It's very deep, and then all of a sudden goes
super deep.
Right. Yeah. So, but basically, so let's go back to the whiteboard. So we got, so bad water. The first thing is ocean waves. So ocean waves will dictate or is a risk or a hazard for bad water. The bigger the waves, the more energy, and the more problems you're going to have, more difficulty, more chance of a drowning, more chance of people getting involved. Now, having said that, I'll go down to 7 here with our board. There's a big difference between northeast swell and hurricane swell. And I'm going to make that point because in New Jersey, it certainly is. We'll have a northeast blow for 2-3 days. They call them nor'easters, nor'easters. And the wind will come out of northeast, blow up, and the waves will get pretty big locally. It's a local storm. Maybe it's, a couple 100 miles out, but it's just local, maybe 100 miles out. And we go in that way at water all the time. It's 6 to 8 foot, usually, maybe less, maybe 5 to 8, in that frame.
But it's
they're
super
mild.
inconsistent.
Right. It's inconsistent. It's choppy. It's a lot coming in. We go swimming out all the time. We go out and those waves are kind of mushy. That's different than a hurricane surf. So a hurricane surf is usually, the hurricanes a lot of times is way out, it could be 1,000 miles away, but you get the swells come in and those waves have a large amount of energy and they're big fat waves. You could have a 2-foot hurricane swell with tons of energy and knocks the shit out of you. And everybody who's listening, who's a seasoned lifeguard will know you go through a 3-foot hurricane swell. And when it breaks on your back, it takes your fins right off.
It's heavy.
It's heavy. Right. So when I'm looking about I'm trying to predict bad water and we're trying to predict having your assets ready to go for that day and what kind of day you're going to have. You got big swells, you're going to have big, more problems.
And there's a lot that goes into understanding how all of these factors are going to affect your specific beach.
Right.
Because in Seaside Heights, a west wind or a southeast wind
is different.
Is a lot different than it would be in Sandy Hook.
Right. So but let's just get the general thing here, and then people could adjust this to their specific place.
But yeah, I think the point I'm making is like where you're lifeguarding, you need to take all of this into account.
Right, exactly. So the other thing is temperature of the water. You say, well, how does that make it dangerous? Well, unfortunately in New Jersey where we live, we open up the beach in May and June, and even into July. Our water could be in the high 50s, low 60s. And if anybody's ever gone in water at 57 degrees, that's cold. And you start to get into hypothermia. And hypothermia, you start to get confused, you get muscle fatigue, and you could go down, real quick. So when we see a when we have a cold day, there's more chance of people drowning. You don't have a lot of reserve. They go out there. A lot of times they go quick. They go quick because they get hypothermia, they get confused, their muscle cramps, and they just go under. Also, when you go into cold water, what do I always tell you? What happens when you dive into cold water? Go right into cold water. What does it do to your heart? No. What cold water does is it slows down your heart rate. It doesn't increase it. It slows it down. In the hospital with patients, somebody's got a racing heart. You could put cold water in their face. A lot of times it reduces the heart rate, believe it or not. It's funny. Your heart rate goes down, your breathing gets more. So people dive into the water, right? Their heart rate slows down, believe it or not. And then they start breathing heavily. And if they suck in a little bit water, they choke on it, they gag on it. They might go into what's called their cord closes up. Laryngospasm, and that's it. They're done.
So what exactly is your body trying to do when it slows your heart rate?
Well, it's just a cold. It's trying. That's a whole physical. I could go on for hours with that, but just for say it does it. That's a response to cold water or cold. It's trying to corral heat. It's you don't want to pump as much blood. It's a whole thing.
Trying to keep your core warm.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But anyway, getting back. So these are bad water. How we predict. So you got ocean waves. You got temperature of the water. The other thing is,
I was wondering what that word was.
Temperature. Yeah, my writing.
SEM.
Yeah. So the other thing is the tides. Yeah. These are so important to know the tides. You like my, did I spell it right?
T's are very strange.
Yeah, I know my T's are right. So tides, you have high tide and low tide, right?
Uh-huh.
So when is the worst time? Is it low or high?
It's in between.
No,
right?
No. Well, in between.
When they're changing.
Well, that would be from, so listen, generally speaking, low tide is the worst. So if you look at it, it's going from, but not always, but generally speaking, these are all generalities, an hour before dead low and an hour after dead low. For people who are on our podcast and don't understand this, in New Jersey, we have a tidal change every 6 hours. So at 1 o'clock, you'll have dead high. The water will be as high as it's going to get. We have a 6-7 foot tidal change in New Jersey, about 6 foot. So that's 1 o'clock. If you come back at 6-7 o'clock, the water could be down 6-7 foot, and that's dead low. That's what we're talking about. So when an hour before dead low and an hour after dead low, the water is running. Your rip tides are the worst. Okay, they're the worst. Now that's a generality. But if you look over here, down over here on the bottom, but I put big ocean. When you have really big ocean, big surf, 5, 6, 7 foot, high tide could be just as bad as low tide with the runs cooking. So it changes. So it's not an absolute, but
with the big ocean at low tide, that makes the sandbar that much more dangerous.
Right. So what happens is, but when low tide happens, the sandbars basically rise up, and the holes, which we can't demonstrate here, which is going to run harder. The water will run harder through a rip current. See if you can pull up a rip current.
Now, why? Now,
It's philosophy.
I'm asking you this for the sake of our listeners. Why, at low tide, is that causing the rips to run faster?
Because what happens is the bars are rising. Really, what the water is not the bars. It's relative. The water is going down. So the water has no place to escape. The waves are coming in. The water's coming in. You have these sandbars, which are kind of like islands, right? And between the sandbars, you have a rip current. You have a hole, and it goes from the ocean out from the beach to the ocean, right? So what happens is, as the water goes lower, the waves come over, and it's trapped. It goes left to right. Can't go over the bar. Where does it corral into? That rip current, that hole that's going east to west, or really, west to east, and it sucks you out. It goes out. So the water comes over the bars, comes in, goes left to right, and then goes out.
So to put that in simpler terms, what you're saying is, at high tide, when the water comes over the sandbar, that space is still kind of available for the water to shoot
go right back
out
out.
through.
Right.
So you can the sandbar is still available to help the water get out. But at low tide, when you have maybe a foot of water at most on the sandbar sometimes.
Yeah.
Then it all kind of has to go to that gully to shoot back out.
Right. Now, I'll complicate the matters. If you have a strong wind, either north or south, so in other words, blowing right or blowing left, it could actually send the water, instead of going out and the rip currents blowing, going real bad, people will just drift south or north, and then the runs stop working. And you've seen that. So it's a little bit complicated, but that's why I want to talk about wind.
Once you start baking the wind direction into everything, it changes stuff so quickly.
Right.
But before we move on to that, I want to show this great picture we found. This is a classic, perfect example of a.
Oh yeah, there's your
at low tide.
Right, too. So people can see that right now.
Yeah, we're
sharing. So can you make that bigger? That one. No, okay.
I wish I could.
Okay, so there's the sandbars. The water's coming over, and look at it running out there. That's a great picture. People on our podcast should really look at this.
And now this is a good example. This is a good example as well of what I said before, where you can have an example where a wave will build and then break. And then as it moves over the sandbar, the water gets deeper again. It'll build again and then break again on the shoreline.
Wait, is that you in a lounge chair there with your girlfriend sitting on the beach there over there? I can't see that. Having a Heineken.
No, we haven't been on a tropical vacation yet. This could be Island Beach though.
This is a great picture. I think people should go to this and just explain. This is a great, great picture.
Here's a more of like a chart of what a rip current is. This is more like what you'll see on a ramp walking up to a beach.
Right. That's it. Yeah, that's really good. So now let's cook in. Let's continue on. Let's go and talk about the wind direction. So, whoa, what does that have to do with it? Now, remember, when we come in the morning, we've looked at our charts. The weather. We predicted all of this. We look at our time charts, tidal charts, the wind, the weather prediction, the ocean. All of this. And we do this quickly every day, and we make an assumption, or not an assumption, we make a decision of what risk. And then we'll talk about the flags and everything. But
first thing I do every day is I look at my partner and I say, what time is the tides?
That's right.
Because that dictates.
Because you don't know what they are.
Yeah. I'm testing them.
You're testing.
That dictates where do I put my stand. That dictates what do I expect at what time of day.
That's right. That's another whole thing. I didn't talk about stands. But so Let's talk about the wind direction now. So the wind direction, now this is, again, depends on where you live, what beach you're at. In New Jersey, in Seaside Heights, where we work, Seaside Heights Beach Patrol, our worst wind is a northeast, and especially a light northeast, which means
I think we just, before you move on,
Oh,
sorry, just we
you-
should describe real quick for people that might not know, our island, our barrier island, our beach faces directly east, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. So a wind, when we describe a wind, we describe it when we say northeast, that means where the wind is coming from. So a northeast wind is coming from the northeast, and where's it going? It's going southwest. Okay. So we don't say southwest. Which, when you describe a wind, it's the direction it's coming from. So are we still, you put
No,
us in a small box? Okay.
I'm not sharing right
Okay.
now.
So the wind, let's talk. So the wind direction in Seaside Heights, the northeast, a light northeast, will make the ocean, the currents run harder. And you might say, why? Well, there's different currents. We have currents also, and it's almost a situation where you got tide against the ocean. It's interesting. If somebody drowns up in north from us, it's sad, but their body will float down. I've seen that many times. But during the day, we get a current going from south to north, especially because at the end of the day, we start getting a northeast blow and the water starts to move. So a lot of times the northeast will make the runs cook harder and make the waves stand up a little bit. So the wind direction is very important. A west wind, for instance, coming from the west, going out, will blow people out. It'll make the runs cook a little bit more, but it's not as bad. A northwest, same thing. You'll get currents. You'll get anything north, west, south. Let me just make a point. Dead south, which causes the beach to get very hot. If you see the forecast for dead south in New Jersey, don't go to the beach. It's hot as all hell. There's flies, even a west wind, but
You'll get that with a west wind too.
Right. Yeah. But in the southeast, also, if it's strong enough, kicks down the runs. So what were you going to say?
Another thing because you said the west wind will pump the rip currents a little bit, but also at low tide, it's going to help that water over the bar as well.
Push it out, right?
Yeah.
It can. You'll yeah. So, and everything we're saying here, you got to take it with these are generalities. It's not written in stone, but this is what you should be thinking about. All of these things when you set up and make decisions on what flag you want to have, what assets you want to have, and what you're going to experience. Because, you could sit low a little bit and relax until an hour before low tide and an hour after high tide. How many times have we seen it? It'll go. The day's going long. We got control, and all of a sudden, bang! Everything starts. You get hit. Rescues, people going in trouble, and it's in the hour before low tide. And I tell everybody, listen, we got another hour of this, maybe two.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes longer, sometimes it goes shorter, and then it's done. It's like nothing ever happened. And then you say, well, what changed? From a lay person laying on the beach, it's like, well, the water looks the same to me.
Yeah.
Well, the tide changed. The wind could have stayed the same. The ocean could have stayed the same. Only thing that changed was the tide.
That tide is,
tide's a very
just
important
low
thing.
enough to where that water starts pouring into the hole.
It's like porridge. It's just not too hot, not too cold, just right. So wind direction is really important, guys. Now, the time of the day, okay? You say, well, what do differences make? Well, if low tide, I'm telling you, is dangerous. If low tide is like 9 a.m, and then, you got it, you see, and then when's the next low tide? Not until 12 hours later, because, 6 hours is high, then you got another. So you might luck out. But if low tide, you're sitting there and we're having a briefing, and I say, listen, low tide is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
You better be ready.
3 o'clock in the afternoon in our beach is packed. It's prime time. Between
people are starting to drink.
Between 1 and 3, we start getting the people who had the cocktails. But 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and if you have bad water, then the beaches have the maximum amount of people. It's the hottest. People are going to go in the water.
Yep.
People have been drinking if they do drink. So the time of the day, if I have everything the same, the wind, the currents, the waves, but it's high tide, low tides in the morning, low tides, way at night, I'm not as worried. I'm a little bit more relaxed, and I'm saying, okay, we're probably not going to have that bad of a day. So So again, just, to recap here, what's the worst time? An hour before, an hour after, okay? Low tide. Now, what out of those two, what's the worst? So an hour before, an hour after, I think an hour after.
Because you're
Tide
getting a little more water
coming in.
Yep.
Right. The water's coming in, and I've seen that.
Mhm.
This is my 30, 40 years of experience. I've seen that. So I know that's to be the fact. But again, this is more stuff for lifeguards and people who are going to make the decisions on this.
Yeah, we're getting a little technical,
right? I don't want
average listener, but
right. So anyway, but that's the end of that. So if I wanted to make it different, just to go over that, you guys could go and look at this later on. My writing's not the greatest, but I think the stuff we have here is really, really important. Before we go on to the next topic, anything there you want to comment on? Because
I just think that
like what
a lot of this stuff is stuff that comes with years and years of sitting there and looking at the ocean and thinking about it. So if you are thinking of becoming a lifeguard or you are a younger lifeguard, these are the things that you need to always take into consideration every single day when you set your stand up.
Right. So let me ask you this, because let's just play like, you're the student and I'm the teacher. So let's talk about now what all of this, how we're going to, I gave you the risks, to the hazards. So we want to minimize the mishap and then of course the consequence. So we don't want to have a mishap, which is, somebody getting in trouble. So what would you do to minimize that? So what are the things you're going to do? If I say,
do you want to hit me with a scenario?
Well, let's just, I'm gonna hit you with a scenario. So let's just say that low tide is going to be at 3:00. Okay. How is that? How are you going to set your stand up? We open up at 9:00. Where are you going to put your stand? Because we have the ability to put our stands. So low tide is dead lows in the afternoon.
High tide, so
right.
If we're opening, I'm putting my stand on the water line.
Right.
Like
right.
I want the waves going under my stand for the first hour of my day.
Right.
Why is that?
What's going to happen?
Because as the tide goes out, I want to be as close to the water line as possible for 3:00 when we have low tide.
Right.
I might even continue moving my stand.
Right.
Forward, maybe because by the end of the day, by the time it would be to move it back, we'd just be racking the stand and dragging it back up the beach anyway.
Right.
So I'm never going to need to continue moving, but that's semantics right there.
Right. Well, as a supervisor, I'll sometimes what we'll do is we'll say, listen, let's put the stands here. And then if it's really a full moon, that's another thing we didn't talk about. But when there's a full moon, you get a higher high and a lower low because of a full moon. That's another aspect because the moon control. You asked me what controls tides, and that's moon. But we will move the stands during the day. Don't be lazy. And here's the thing. Let me again being why you have to move the stand? What's the point of it? You're going to run that close. You're that more closer. What moving the stand? It accomplishes two things in my opinion. But what are those two things that it accomplishes?
Well,
if you move the stand forward,
I think the less you need to rely, like the binoculars are an amazing tool, but the less you need to rely on them, the better.
You can see better, closer.
Yeah, and it just makes it easier to get off the stand and have those conversations with people. I'm a big advocate of. One of the first things I always tell a rookie or even a 2 or 3 year when I sit with them is like, you want to use your whistle as little as possible. You want to get off the stand and talk to these swimmers as often as possible to like build kind of a respect with them where they don't think you're just up there bossing them around.
Right.
Now, so to continue answering your question before, low tides at 3:00 at 1:30, I'm either getting off my stand or I'm having my partner get off the stand and walking the water line and talking to people.
Yeah.
And letting them know, hey, in about an hour and a half, this is going to become a lot more dangerous. Here are the spots I want you to swim. We're going to keep everybody right on the sandbar. And I need you to be aware. If I start blowing my whistle, I need you to turn.
Right. So it's preventative. And that's a big thing. Talking about, so my perspective is moving the stand. You could see the people closer. It makes a big difference. Try it. It's amazing. If you sit back on a stand, you put that thing up there near the water, it changes. It's like night and day. The other thing is you have less, you don't have to run as much. There's less chance of somebody in front of your stand. The other point you make, Tyler, which is really, really good, and I really appreciate it, is the talking to people. Because what that does a couple things. A lot of people don't realize there's people on the water who can't see. They wear their glasses. They take them off. They can't see you. they can't hear. They have poor hearing, you know,
Mhm.
and you go, and they could be intoxicated or impaired or autistic or, you know, a million things. You go down, you say, hi, good morning or good afternoon, sir or ma'am. I'm a lifeguard here. I was just wondering, you know, and if they look at you and you know, you're like, whoa, you know, you could make a decision there, you know, if they're intoxicated or if they don't understand. We have people who don't speak English, so we have a barrier. We have to try to, you know, speak to them and talk to them and try to make them understand. I think that's a great thing that you're talking about. That saves so much problems, going down and talking to people. And
Well,
no, I
here's the thing, because
think it's a great idea.
I've been there,
Right.
where I'm on my stand on, you know, what we call in Seaside Heights an end stand, which is by the pier, and we don't allow people to swim in front of the pier. And we put the red flags up, and I'm blowing my whistle. I'm telling them to get out, and people ignore me. And it took me a very long time, I'd say 3, maybe even 4 summers, to really understand, like, well, these people, they just don't understand the ocean the way we do. They're not seeing it the way we do. They have a different understanding of the job we're doing and the role that they play in it. Because whether we like to admit it or not, or whether a beach patient wants to admit it or not, it is a collaborative effort to keep everyone safe.
Yeah.
So when you go down there and you show them the respect that they deserve as people who are paying customers that are here to have a good day with their family, and you level with them and say, I'm not being a dick here. This is just what I need from you, so everybody stays safe. That makes them threefold more likely to listen to what you have to say and take you seriously, because people don't like being bossed around. Nobody likes being bossed around.
No, but the other thing you have to realize too, and especially the young lifeguards, is there's a lot of people on the beach who have no idea of the ocean, the danger of the ocean.
Mhm.
They don't understand the wind. They to them it's just like a pool.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea of the significance of how a bad ocean is. To them, one day looks like the other. So you have to go and take that in consideration.
And-
Also, I'm sorry.
And to just expand on that, them not having an idea, they a lot of times don't even know when they're in trouble.
No.
When it's happening.
No.
They could be
No.
flapping around in a rip current, and next thing you know, they're 50 yards out. They turn
Yeah.
around, they start panicking
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
don't even know what's happening.
Right. And to make that illustration, this summer we had a lady, and the 3 of us on a stand. We're all watching, and she came off the sandbar, got into one of those holes that we showed, and she's going out. I'm watching her go out. She doesn't realize she's moving because she has no perspective. And we're blowing a whistle, and I sent one of the lifeguards down. She got all angsty with us, saying that the only reason we got her is because we couldn't swim, which is disingenuous. I told her, I said to her, I said, I could tell you one thing, I could swim better than you. But she didn't realize, and we just said, thank you, ma'am, have a nice day. But they don't even realize. But getting back to the thing though, just as a point, educational point, because this is an educational day, you need to understand these people. Like, I see the young kids, they think these people could just run down the beach. There's people who cannot walk the whole beach. They'll be out of breath.
Mhm.
There's people who a small wave will knock them down and break their arm. We've seen, we get people, morbidly obese people, they go near the water's edge and they fall down. They can't get up. And,
And you know what? That's part of our job.
Oh, we go
we
down
are,
there. Right,
we
right.
should absolutely be going down there and helping someone
Right.
like that. And these are all these call them nuances of the job that at the face you might not see. You might just see the lifeguard with the white nose and the tan,
Yeah, they don't
hanging
know.
out.
They don't know.
But there is a lot that goes into running a harmonious beach.
Yeah. So let me go one other thing.
And it's a job that needs to be restarted every single day. You have to build these relationships with your swimmers almost every single day.
Yeah. Get the big thing. I agree. We've been doing this, a policy, in our town, our lifeguarding. We've been going, get off the stand and talk to people.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for 30, 40 years. And it's good too, because they go, hey, by the way, where can I get some good food? And, we'd say, hey, go up to the boardwalk. This place is good. That place, they got a lot of general information. They wouldn't even ask you, what.
You know what I love? And a lot of beaches do this, the blackboard on the back of the stand.
Yeah.
I think that is, I've always had this, this idea for every day when I would get to the beach, I'll hold up a microphone and introduce myself to my I'm going to be, my name's Tyler and I'm going to be your lifeguard today. But I would love to have a blackboard on the back of my stand, right? here's the tides. I'm Tyler.
Yeah.
My partner's name is
Yeah.
Joe Schmuck.
Yeah.
Here's my food recommendation for the day. I mean, just fun stuff like that. You want your beach to be fun for people.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing that we do on our beach, which is really, I think, pretty neat, is we we have our loudspeaker system. So when there's big ocean or there's high wind, because we'll announce it over the loudspeaker. And talking about high wind too, you got to worry about umbrellas being blown down.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we could spend hours.
On an earlier episode, the lady that got the umbrella about
right
through her Achilles.
So if we know it's going to be a windy day, they're calling for gusts. Say prediction of gust 20, 30 knots. And it's going to be a hot day. That's usually a south wind.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to know that we're probably going to have to pull the umbrellas down. We'll start early in the day. Please make your umbrellas, they're well anchored. And then there's a certain wind. Everybody has a different tolerance, but we'll actually, and every beach will put down knock down the umbrellas, make them go down if it becomes dangerous, because they take off and blow and they could hit somebody. So those things. Also, when you look at the weather, and this is all trying to predict what's bad water, but also a bad day. If it's really super, super hot, you got to worry about heat exhaustion. We could go on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But so so once we decide, let's just keep on our topic. Once we decide, or we ascertain, we all have our meeting in the morning, and we know it's going to be a bad water. We're going to have bad water. Dr. Katchmar's bad water. That's the key. Bad water. What do we do now? We move our stands. We prepare. We might have fins. We make sure our rope boxes are good. We have the vehicles. We make sure we have enough enough assets.
You spend your morning training in it.
Right.
That's a huge one.
You get out there and
know what to expect if you have to go out.
But then the next thing is which is USLA have flags. I just want people to understand the flag system, because right now a lot of people don't. Can you pull up just USLA
guideline? Just real quick, we should mention this. John Moore.
Yes.
When do we have
February 8th?
So he's gonna John Moore. He's a lawyer. He works with the USLA, correct?
Yeah.
And he is going to be coming on the show and really doing a deep dive onto some of this stuff with us. So
right. Well, the big thing is that there's things coming down the pike while you're going to pull up the USLA. Vehicle safety. Driving a vehicle on a beach, clearing the beach, which is a whole nother entity, and clearing the beach for whatever reason, lightning, coming, and then also. The third thing is boat safety. We do use boats, and we're going to talk about that in a minute about boats. But when we decide we're going to have bad water or not, we have a flag system. And a lot of beaches use the flag system. And this flag system, people could go on to usla.org. I think it's usla.org.
usla.org. You want to look up beach warning flags.
Right. So there's a whole set of flags. I mean, there's for sharks, for jellyfish. You could go on and on. But basically, there's green, yellow, and red.
Green, yellow, and red are the most common, and double red are the most commonly used, especially around here.
Right.
I'm gonna share this.
Yeah, share that right now.
This is pretty.
And share that and put us in a small box. So USLA has these flags. So when you go on the beach, people, you're going to say, well, Dr. Katchmar, my Katchmar, I can't remember all this stuff. How do I know if it's safe for me and my children and my wife and my kids and my grandma? Well, number one is go talk to a lifeguard. But the other thing is look at the flags. The flags are up there for a reason.
Yes.
Okay. So, you could, and for me, and I'm not going to go into what the flags mean. I'll just give you a general concept, but you could go to usla.org. Okay.
Yeah, they have this great overview of the purpose of all them. Then we have the definition. So we have all these, but yellow, red, this would be double red. Double red is close to the public completely.
Right.
So
red.
I don't see that many green flags.
No,
really.
no. But let's just go with this though. I don't want to delve into, but basically green is the most mild or minimal dangerous. Yellow is more danger and bad water, and then red is really bad, and then double red is forget about it. You can't.
Let me read right from the website here.
Go with the yellow and the red. I think
Yellow.
the yellow and the red is really the key.
Yellow's medium hazard.
Are you sharing this right now?
Yes.
Where's our little box? You don't have us in the box
We're in
anymore?
the box. We're
Okay, good. Okay,
Don't
good.
worry
Sorry,
about it.
good. So I just wanted to know. I don't see how. Yeah, good. So good. So yellow
is medium hazard. Moderate surf and or currents are present. Weak swimmers are discouraged from entering the water. For
Okay.
others, enhanced care and caution should be exercised. Red flag. High hazard. Rough conditions such as strong surf and or currents are present. All swimmers are discouraged from entering the water. Those entering the water should take great care. And the double red, like we said earlier, is water is closed to public use. And then you get into the weird flags that mean other things that don't necessarily have to do with the danger that the water itself is presenting you. Like purple, for example, means that there's some kind of marine bio situation going, maybe the stingrays, jellyfish, pests, stuff like that.
Right.
And then they just, go
so
from there.
So now, some beaches in different areas where there's no lifeguards, they'll still put up flags. I know that. I've read that. So always look for the flags. Also, you know what's really good on your phones now? There's tons of apps. Like you go, my weather, I have the weather on my phone, and they'll tell me, they'll give me alert, high hazard, drowning hazard.
Well,
they all have it now.
You have Surfline, you have all those types of apps. What is it that Tim Harmon and his guys are using? I think that what they're using there is also has an arm for the public to
do well, I can tell you right now, the Weather Channel, just the weatherchannel.org or .gov, weather.gov.
Type in tides for wherever you're
but
going.
You could go on to the
Google.
National Weather Services, weather.gov, and you look at the app and you go down into where you live, wherever it is, New Jersey, New York, it could be Texas, whatever. And then it will say whether or not, and you can look for hazardous ocean. It'll say rip currents, what the level is. I think on the radio here during the summer, they pump it out. There'll be announcement. There's plenty of places to find out if it's dangerous, but you could find out ahead of time. You could call, and I'm not encouraging everybody to call the beach patrols because sometimes you can't get there. But if you want to know ahead of time if it's going to be a dangerous ocean, you could look at the weather forecast text. They'll usually say 3-4 days ahead of time, there's going to be a big ocean. If there's a hurricane off of the coast of New Jersey or even
you're going to know about it.
You're going to have rough surf, right? So the flag system is important. That's my point.
Like you said earlier, the best thing you can do when you get to the beach is go talk to your lifeguard and ask them any questions that you have. Like it's my job to answer your questions. So you don't have to feel like you're bothering the lifeguard.
No.
From our perspective, if a beach patron walks up to us and asks us questions about the surf, hey, is it safe? Hey, just so you know, I just had ACL surgery, or my husband had a stroke a year ago. That all that stuff allows us to do our job better. Any question you might have, please ask us.
Right. We're used to stupid questions.
Yeah. If you want to ask me if there's any sharks in the water today, come ask me if there's. I'll tell you, yes, there's sharks in the water today. They live there.
This summer, I had a lady come up to me. I don't know what her deal was, but she goes, can you tell me the difference between, I think she was pulling my leg. She goes, can you tell me the difference between a male and female jellyfish? I don't know. She's hitting on me. I don't know. I was like, she's probably like, 75 years old. So
what's the dumbest question you've ever been asked on the beach?
Well, I almost don't even want to say, because, I don't want to get, but I remember, like, there'll be out 8 miles out, we have tankers, tanker ships, cargo ships. And I'll have people ask me, is that a whale out there? I've had that.
Someone asked me once, is that London?
Yeah. But you'll get, I'm trying to think, a lot of people, it'll be like the worst ocean. I mean, we just made a rescue, pulled people out, and a guy will come up to me and go, what's the problem? I'm like, what do you mean, what's the problem? I said,
open your eyes, bro.
It's like, it's a dangerous ocean. Oh, I really didn't, the best, I like it because this is what we do. And I love this. We put flags out on when it's really bad ocean. We'll put flags on the beach, red flags. They're big. They're about 6 feet by 4 feet on big poles. And it says, no swimming. Then it's also got a person who's swimming with a circle around him and a big line through.
Yeah, like a caution sign.
And they'll be about 20 yards apart, maybe maybe 15 yards. So
That's how I like to space them out.
right. And I'll go down, and there'll be people swimming in that area, and I call them out, and I'll go, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Don't you see the signs and the flags?" And they're like, "Oh no, I never seen them." I'm like, "They're like right at the water's edge." Or they'll tell me, "Well, I thought you could swim in between the flags." I mean, we have like 15 flags lined up, 20 yards, 15 yards apart, and the people think that that the pole, which is probably about 3 inches, 2 inches, they just can't swim right in front of that.
And
So,
that's another perfect example of like the patience that we have to like do the job.
you have
with.
to be patient, right?
And,
People don't
and
understand.
Exactly, because
Right.
A situation like that, right? But that happens every single day as people swimming in that area, because they don't even know to look for those flags.
No.
So I cannot sit here and judge you or blame you for not even knowing that those flags are a thing that exist.
Well,
and it just comes down to the fact, and this is why I used to get frustrated, because I wasn't realizing that I'm an expert in something that people know nothing about.
Right. That's like
I'm
Einstein.
expecting them to come to like a baseline that just isn't achievable for most people.
That's like somebody, it's like Einstein, E equals MC squared. And, you don't get it. And he starts yelling at you, "You dummy, you don't know what," like, I mean,
exactly.
But you have to, if you're going to be a lifeguard, especially this day and age, because, it's more touchy feely. There's more people get upset. You have to, you cannot take it personally. You have to also, how can I say this? You're going to get, you should have to, what you do is you need to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah.
But anyway, you make a good point though. I think there's a lot of ways to deal with it, but we deal with it with discussion. And we try to bring things down. We have a whole protocol. We have officers and most people you could bring down and they get upset because they don't understand. Once they understand, they're pretty cool about it.
And there is a way to be respectful, but as firm as you need to be at the same time.
There was a bunch of people swimming on an area that they're not supposed to swim. So I went down there and I I told them to come out, and I spoke to them. And they had a whole group. There was about 15, 20 people, young kids, I think. And I spoke to the one kid, and then he got all fired up, like, "Yeah, I know." And I only talked to him. He went and told the whole crowd, and I had no problems anymore. They all understood. So, use your mind, your head, your idea, but you got to know ahead of time that people are in trouble. I'll make one other point about lifeguarding, because we're a little bit technical today. What I start doing is when I know it's coming up to the witching hour, what I mean by that is, say dead low is 3:00 and it's a big ocean. And I know you can see the run starting to kick. People are starting to get pulled out. I start going down. I start telling the lifeguards, let's start pulling the people out who are weak, the elderly. Let's get them out. Let's get the young kids. Let's get them out. Let's move them out of water. Let's talk to the family. Say, listen, it's getting bad. Because I can't save 1,000 people. We may have 1,000 people, 2,000, 3,000 people in the water, and we have 20 lifeguards, So what we'll start doing is weaning down the people who we feel are most in risk of drowning. And it's not easy, because
when they ask you, you have to have the strength to be honest with them.
Yeah.
And not feel bad. Like, because there's ways to say you don't belong here without being like, you're too fat to swim there.
No,
because that's rude, and nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But if you can go up to, and no matter what, if you tell someone that you don't think they're strong enough swimmer to be somewhere, they're going to be offended. But you could say it as simply as that. Like, listen, we have some rough water moving in within the next hour. I've been observing you for a little while, and I don't see that you're a strong enough swimmer. So I just need to move you over here. I need you to stay ankle deep, whatever you need them to do. Yeah. It's your job to get them to do that. Yeah, right. To get them to be on board with what you want them to do. That's your job.
And that's a good point. You need to start weaning it down, because you don't want to be overwhelmed. Where a lot of beach patrols, and I've seen over time, I've looked at some tragedies that happened. They got overwhelmed. They didn't predict or modify, as time went on, titrate the people in the water. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes, sometimes the ocean just blows up on you really quick. The other thing you don't know.
How many times, real quick, have you guys come on the radio from up top and say, hey, tide's coming in an hour, start moving people
right,
in
right.
now,
The-
because you
the-
don't want to do it when it's too late.
No, a full moon is also a thing, you know. I mean, I don't know if it affects people's attitudes, but the other thing too is it's not all of this we're talking about, but it's also the people you have on your beach. Some weekends,
Got to know your swimmers.
it seems like we have like every worst swimmer comes down at the same day. Other days you got like, it's like everybody is Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
Or some weekends, I don't know how it works that way. I think kind of like full moon days, you know, I still believe in that. They've done studies and say it has nothing to do with anything. But, you know, so you got it when you talk about the conditions or a red flag or a yellow flag, you also got to,
you can have a red flag crowd.
Your crowd.
On a yellow flag day.
Right. Some days, you know, like if we have, if there's in your town or whatever, there's a festival and everybody's drinking and everything, they come on the beach. You might want to realize that those people might be red flagged.
Yeah. And listen, this isn't to call out or offend any
but
beach patron or people that come to our beach, but this is like,
it's all beaches.
These are the realities of the job, and you have to be aware of the circumstances surrounding like who's on your beach. Is it a festival? You know, is there some kind of drinking thing going on this weekend in my town? Is there a concert?
Right. Anything. So
all this type of stuff.
Right. So let's
is the stand I'm sitting right in front of Spicy's or any other of the bars on the boardwalk.
Right. And a lot of beaches have that. I mean, there's you know, of course, 4th of July weekend, people are partying. But my point is all getting back to bad water and predicting and thinking about, is somebody going to drown? There's days, so finish this off. There's days with this topic. There's days where the water is no problem. And it might even look bad. Like, especially like a northeast blow, the water's blowing in. And you know, it's almost, you're not going to get you might get hit by some waves, but it's pushing you in. And the days that look dead calm could be worse. So in other words, there's days where the ocean is big, you know, blowing in, and that could be the safest day. You know, it's not that bad, as opposed to where it could be flat and the runs are cooking and you get sucked out. And I've seen that. I've seen early morning where the water's flat, there's swell coming in, it's low tide, it's a light northeast, and people jump in the water and they get sucked out. You know, like, and it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning already.
Yeah.
So see that. So let's shift gears. I want to talk about another thing.
Can I real quick? I want to recommend a book that is a really great piece of, call it supplemental material to everything we're talking about. It's called How to Read Water. I actually got it from Adam Brzezinski, one of our recurring co-hosts.
Is it a surfing?
No, it's got only a portion of it's about the ocean.
Oh,
but it's very, very, very interesting and in depth, and really goes into a lot of detail on this stuff.
I did one of my courses in college. I did oceanographics. I mean, you could spend weeks on ocean waves, currents. I mean, it's like, I don't even remember it all, but it gets complicated if you really want to go down that rabbit hole. You know, the water is an amazing thing. There's underground there's there's currents coming from Antarctic cold water going, you know, what do they call it? The Atlantic circulation. It's big. There's a lot going on. So as soon as you're done with that, is that the book?
Yeah, I'm just going to share it with so yeah, it's called How to Read Water, Clues and Patterns from Puddles to the Sea by Tristan Gooley.
Well, that sounds like a great read.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's
that.
really cool.
I might have to read it. I don't know that.
I mean, and it like he said, from Puddles to the Sea, they cover absolutely everything.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, he covers absolutely everything.
That's good. I like that. That's good. I have to go for that. So people on our podcast, you guys could go to our YouTube channel, Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar, and you could look at this. You could pull it up. And,
wow, I didn't even realize this. This guy. So in How to Read Water, Gooley shares hundreds of techniques and observations distilled from his far-flung adventures, such as sailing solo across the Atlantic, navigating with Omani tribes people, canoeing in Borneo, and walking in his own backyard. That's pretty cool. Wow. I would love
walking in his own backyard. Well, how does that? I wonder what's
looking at the puddles.
Yeah. Okay.
I would love to do a real distance row in a Van Dyne to raise money for something. I think that would be so freaking cool.
Yeah, well, there's some guy just died. He just did that. He was rowing from Spain. He went from, I think, Bay of Biscayne, I forget, down to the Azores. Old guy. They found him dead in his. He was like in his 70s. He did a bunch of other stuff.
We should do something from like the tip of like the Barnegat Lighthouse all the way to the Point Pleasant Inlet in one day. That's doable, right?
In one of my books here, and there was guys years ago. People have done that. There was these guys going to row from like New York to across the ocean, or crazy stuff. I don't think they ever found them, but anyway, let's yeah, well, that's great. Let's just
hanging out with Amelia Earhart on that island.
So I want to switch gears here because we got about another 10 minutes. This is something that is starting to become more discussed in our area, and there's a lot of I title this here types of rescue equipment, and really I want to say more is types of rescue procedures. So everybody has a different twist on this, and some beaches do things differently. So what I want to talk about is just briefly for about 10 minutes, just types of rescue equipment and procedure. So on a lot of beaches here in New Jersey, in our area, Monmouth and Ocean County, we have this red can. We said this red can, and it's plastic. We have it on the wall here, and you swim that out, and then another lifeguard swims out the same can, same type of can, but have a rope attached to it. And then you get to the victims.
And in most cases, those are yellow.
Right, yellow. And then you hook up, you put them together, and you bring the people in. And that's been traditionally, you can see, cans and ropes. And that's been traditionally very good. We've done it for, I don't know, probably 40, 50, 60. In our beach, probably, I don't know, 100 years.
Yeah, a long time.
So that's that.
Well, we haven't been around for 100 years.
No, whatever.
We're, I think 12 years away from that.
12 years. Yeah. The other thing you have is
1934.
1934. Yeah. The other thing you have is these soft cans, and they're kind of soft. They bend, and you'll have a single lifeguard go out with fins. They'll swim out. They'll put this can, it's rubber. It's a foam. They'll wrap it around the person, around their arms, clip it in the back, and then they'll swim the person in. It's got a long leash. And well, wait, don't comment. And don't say yes or no. A lot of beaches do that. So we don't want to criticize.
No, I'm not criticizing. Well,
you were like,
I don't know how I feel because I've never performed like an actual rescue with one of those.
Well, but a lot of people.
One thing I will say is that the straps on those are very long.
Yeah,
it's easy to get caught up in when you're trying to like hop off the stand and grab it. So
well,
you just need to be aware of that.
Right. But what happens is they're used in a lot of different beaches. I know in California, in South America, and the key is fins, and because you need the fins for the power to power that person in. Mm-hmm. You don't have two people sometimes, so it's situational. But that's another way that people are use the equipment. The other thing that is used in different parts of the world are rescue boards. Now, the one channel that I watch quite often, I really enjoy, is Bondi Beach. Am I pronouncing it right? Is it Bondi
Beach?
Bondi. Right. Now they have jet skis there, but a lot of on the TV channel, on the YouTube channel, it's all rescue boards. And for people who don't know what a rescue board is, it looks like a surfboard. And what they do is they run down, paddle the board out, get the victim, and put it on. The thing with that is it's good for one victim. If you have multiple victims, you could hold them up, get some more boards out there, and get them in. It's quick, not cheap. They're about $1,000. You don't have to be the greatest swimmer in the world. Mm-hmm. You got to be a great athlete with the board. And they're a great, I like them. I'm a big board guy. I'm not saying I would change.
The surf can get too big to perform a rescue on one of those though.
Yeah. But I could tell you what, you could Bondi Beach, they got some big surf. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised when you get good at it. You could go through a lot. You could go through some big surf. So I don't know, what the limit is. I think we should, they could tell us. But that's another method and another equipment.
If anyone from Bondi Beach wants to come on the show, feel free.
Right. And talk about the board rescue. I'd like to know, that'd be great, because I would love to know, number one, what the boards are. I don't know, the 10-6. I don't know what they are. Is there any limit on the size of the ocean? Because I think they let everybody in no matter what. I don't know. So do they defer at certain height to a jet ski?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing I want to say. So the other thing would be boats, and I didn't put the skis, but boats and jet skis. So Atlantic City, uses boats for rescues. Now, I don't know how many beaches use boats. Timmy Harmon, who's in here, he says that he doesn't know too many beaches that actually use the boats for rescues. It's more they train with them and use them competition. But there are some beaches that use boats.
And situationally, from what I understand, that works at Atlantic City, right? Don't they have very, very wide sandbars?
Right.
So you can either, launch a boat, or you can you can run and dive through knee-deep water for 100 yards.
Right,
The
and you
boat's
could
gonna be
use a
faster.
board. The reason
The board or the boat will be faster, but if it's multiple victims, like you said, that's harder to pull off on a rescue board.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some scenarios, and then I have a thing planned. So as soon as I finish, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 scenarios. You tell me which would work better for this.
Okay.
Which equipment would you use? If you had you're on the beach, you have all of these things ready for you.
I like this because you're testing me, but by testing me, you're testing yourself as a teacher.
Yeah. So you got rescue boards. I just want to give you what you got as your thing. You got a boat. Now boats are Van Dyne boat. It's a rescue boat. It's 17 foot long. I don't know how wide it is. It's got, you could have 2-person rower, and you could take the boat out.
I want to do a surf boat episode where we really dig into the history of all the surf boats.
We should. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, great. I think that's a great thing. There's some people who actually collect these boats, and
there's the Van Dynes, and then there's the
Van
older,
Zandts,
heavier
there's
ones.
Hankins,
the Hankins, there's
all kinds.
The big boys that the life saving service used to use.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Which those came from England. The first time that those were implemented in the United States was at the Massachusetts Humane Society.
I have a book. I'll get it. It's called Lifeguards of New Jersey, and there's a picture of one of those boats. I don't know how many people are in there. 8 rowers, or 6.
I think it's 6 rowers and
a tiller.
And
this guy Tillen, you could see he'd snap your neck in a minute. He's like an older guy, big like barrel chest. Those guys, and they would go out in anything and everything. And they went.
I actually just bought another book. It came in the mail yesterday. It's called Storm Warriors. And it's about the United States Life Saving Service, first ever all black life saving crew.
What year were they? When were they? That's a great book. I'd like to hear.
It's the keeper's name was Richard Etheridge.
What state? Where were they at?
It was in North Carolina, maybe South Carolina.
Really? And what year? What year was that? That's interesting.
So the story is there was a shipwreck during a storm, and the original crew at the Pea Island Life Saving Station was all white, and everyone on the shipwreck died because these guys just weren't doing their jobs. Basically, they were all like sleeping or drunk or whatever. So then they hired this guy, Richard Etheridge, who was known as like a brilliant surfman, being a waterman. And
was he black? Was he a black guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he served in the Civil War, I believe. And he brought in his own crew. So he was born in 1842, Etheridge.
Wow. Well, Civil War was over in 65. So he was born in 42.
Yeah, he would have fought
40, 50, he was 20. Yeah, he was 20s. Yeah.
So yeah, in December 1866. So I'm sorry, in 1879, the keeper was a white man with his crew. In November was the storm and rescue that happened that caused them to be basically fired, and then Etheridge to come in with his crew.
Wow.
But this book talks about that through it's honestly like a young adult fiction. I didn't realize it, but I'm already,
was it true? Was based on a true story?
It's based in truth.
They were
yeah,
definitely.
This story I'm telling you right now is all real.
Yeah.
Everything
listen, we'll have a show on that.
Is real.
Because here's the thing, here's the thing with all this, talk about critical.
I want to. Black History Month's coming up, so we should definitely do a show on that.
Because here's the thing, we talk about all this racial, what they call critical theory. We should be we should be talking about history and real history, and not that and here is where, in my opinion, that this is the good stuff. They fought, black people fought in the Civil War. They were in World War II. They did lifeguarding, and we should celebrate that, and we should talk about that. I think that's a great thing. I'd love to look at that. So let me finish with the other stuff now. So, because I want to give you the test. So we got the boats. So we got, you got the rescue boards, you got boats, and you have jet skis. Well, we have skis, which is an unbelievable tool. And for people who don't know, that's the jet ski. We have a sled on the back, and the sled is like a giant boogie board. I don't know. What would you say? How big is the board? It's like 6 feet by 4 feet. That 5 feet. How big is it? It's maybe 5 feet. I'm trying. No, it wouldn't be that.
I can't.
It's not that long. It's not.
It's not 6 feet.
Because we hang off.
Let's say 5 feet.
Yeah, because our feet hang off. Okay. So what happens is you take this jet ski out with this floating mattress on the back, and you put the victims on that. So these are the scenarios. Okay. So I'll give you just some scenarios. Let's just say you have all of these tools. Okay.
So which tool am I using?
That's what's up to you. You have every one of these is available to you. So you're sitting in a tower, right? The next lifeguard is a mile away.
Okay.
Okay. You're by yourself, and there's one person that got caught in a rip current and is getting sucked out. Which one of you're all by yourself. There's a mile away.
What's the surf look like?
Oh, say it's big. Well, let's just say it's 4 foot, 3 to 4.
What kind of wind?
Well, in our area, say northeast. The run is cooking.
What time's low tide?
Say you're dead low right now.
Dead low right now.
Dead low right now. What would you do? What would you take out?
Also, to our listeners, feel free to answer these questions in the comments.
So what piece of equipment would you take?
Show me the
so you got the can with ropes, soft can with fins, rescue board, boat, or jet ski. You're by yourself.
Because you said it's blowing northeast.
Go ahead, yeah.
Because it's blowing northeast, I'm going to take the soft can and the fins.
Okay, so tell me why.
Because
what's the wind?
With the fins, I can get them back in by myself.
Yeah,
I can drag them back in.
Right.
The rescue board would have been my second choice.
Right.
But based on the northeast chop, it's not going to be clean enough for me to get them in as easily as I'd like to.
Well, that's skill.
Well, yeah, but if it's a northeast just sloppy mess, it's going to be difficult to try to catch a wave or time it right, as opposed to if it's a little more clean.
I'm not worried about getting him in. I'm worried about him drowning. Let's say he's going down for the count. You put the binos on him, and the water's like up to over his nose. What's going to get you out faster? Soft can and fins or a rescue board?
Rescue board.
Yeah. So maybe a rescue board would be the best, but then you got to have a rescue board. Now, here's the thing. You got to run down. Say you have to run. I'll give you another scenario. Take that scenario, but now you have to run. You have to run a quarter mile down the beach before you could say jump in the water. He's that far away from you.
I'm grabbing the regular can.
Or the can with the fins, not the board. I would still go, because you need the fins and the rubber can so you could bring them in. You still don't have anybody.
Nobody's coming.
Let's just say nobody's going to come.
All right, yeah,
give you that
soft can.
Right. So the soft can with the fins, because the soft can, again, you could tow them in. Mm-hmm. The board, I would say no, because you got to run a half mile, and
it's windy,
and you ain't going to run with a board that easy. Now,
it's like carrying a sail trying to run.
But if you have a ATV, with a board mount, you could fly down there and go in. So ergo, if you want to do that, you should have that available, because the chances of them drowning right in front of you in a tower like that. Yeah. Now, another scenario. In a crowded beach, you have lifeguard towers every less than 100 yards.
Okay.
All right, and you got 2 lifeguards on each, maybe 3 lifeguards, and you have mid tide. It's choppy. It's 3 to 4 foot swells, and you got to and somebody gets in trouble in between the stands or in front of your stands. What are you going to use? Jet ski, boat, soft can with soft fins, a can and ropes.
Run me through that one more time.
It's mid tide, high tide. Moderate wind. Not blowing hard, but you got stands. You have people going to come and help you.
Okay.
They're 100 yards apart, maybe less. You got 3-man stands, tons of lifeguards, and they're, maybe in a little bit of a run on the other side of the bar. And so what are you going to use in that case? Are you going to use cans and ropes? Or are you going to use a
And
soft can?
how many victims?
Say 2.
2 victims. That's
Two.
that. We're just going to run standard procedure on that one.
Which is what though?
Which is the first lifeguard hops down with a loose can and swims to the victims. And depending on
Way out to the way out.
Okay, so then
Rope.
we honestly both would go at the same time. You'd
Right,
send the rope
right.
immediately.
But cans and ropes.
Sometimes if it's you don't know if you're going to need the rope or not, like you can hold back and then send the rope when it's
this
necessary.
is but in this situation though, we're looking at cans and ropes.
Yeah,
cans and ropes. Now another scenario. It's a huge ocean. Hurricane just went by. There's 6 to 8 foot swells. It doesn't matter high tide, low tide. Let's just say it's mid tide. So you got some waves crashing on the bar. So you do have some. It's not dead high. Okay, so that makes a difference. And you notice there's a surfer out there who's waving. Another surfer, he's holding him up, got injured, and they're out there. And you got 6 to 8 foot swells, hurricane surf. What are you going to use? Are you going to use cans and ropes? Are you going to use soft can with fins? Are you going to do rescue board, boat, or jet ski?
I would send the jet ski.
Okay, why?
Yeah,
I agree with you, but why? So it's just,
it's the fastest. In a situation with big surf like that, it's the safest way to get the swimmers in. I think that's the most important part because when you're on the jet ski, you can time it so you stay between those sets as you bring a swimmer in.
Yeah.
Where you can drop them off. You can drop them off in like waist deep water and then get back out before you get caught. If you have 6 to 8 foot swells and you're trying to pull someone in on a line, you're asking.
You ain't going to make it out. I mean, unless you're, you got to be a good swimmer with fins.
Or you got to be a great swimmer to get the line out to begin with.
Yeah. That's going to be tough.
But you do not want to get in a situation where you're pulling a victim over the falls of an 8 foot wave. That's just not good. I'll
throw a little bit monkey wrench here. It's dead high, same scenario, but dead high, and the waves are crashing on the beach. Big shore break, almost impossible to launch a jet ski. And I've seen that. I saw that this summer. I mean, there's no timing. It's just they're coming in, they're crashing, and you got surfer yelling, screaming, guys waving. What would you do in that situation? And it's no easy answer here,
Well,
but I got to make a decision. You're a supervisor now.
What I would do is the first lifeguard heading out there. If that's the case, I'm just gonna
think about it.
I'd probably throw fins on and take a red out there just to get there.
Yes. Yes, it doesn't matter soft can or not.
And then we can dick around on the beach and figure out how to launch a jet ski. But you gotta get those fins on and go make sure that person is being helped. And honestly, in most rescue situations, that's what's going to be done first unless it's like the earlier scenarios you laid out. I'm by myself. I have a board on my stand. I know I can get in and back out. Most scenarios, you're going to be sending a loose can and then deciding from there, how do we get the victim in? How many victims are there? Do we need more red cans? Do we need the rope? All that.
So what I do is again, planning in the morning, this is what I would have done as a supervisor. I'm going to know that the ocean's bad. I'm going to think about where to position a jet ski, where I could get it out, even if it's
you want to put that right in front of a hole.
Right. Now, and we may try, it may not. This takes a lot of problem with a jet ski. It takes a lot of resource. I mean, if you have the sled and everything, you could back it up and put it in the water, but it's still an ordeal to get it out sometimes in a big situation like that. Sending out a can, which is great. Soft can, definitely fins. The other thing is, let's just say you have a victim out there and you can see with the binoculars, it's this other surfer, he's holding him up, or somebody who's almost is unconscious, one thing you can do is a rope, it's difficult because you got to get him back in. The other thing would be a board. And you got to have people who are very well trained with a board, because if you get somebody out there, you put them on a board, even if they're unconscious, try to get them in,
Yeah.
it's difficult. This is difficult. The other thing is,
Well, and the board can be very effective, but like you said, like you got to be careful with that thing. Like you got to make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to try to bring someone in on that.
right. It's very difficult. That's a difficult situation. The other thing is, you could get the Coast Guard to come in, but by the time that, it could be all over. So these are no easy answers. It has to be really done. I tell you what has happened, is the rope and the loose can goes out. Some beaches don't have a jet ski. And even if they did, it may have been hard to. The jet ski may not work sometimes. Say for some reason it's not working. A boat in that situation, maybe. That kind of surf, that's tough with a boat. But it's done. People have gone out in that. They've done it years and years and years. Get through that. The shore break is a very difficult. Thank God it's not all the time. But you make a good point with a jet ski, and I've taken out jet skis where big ocean. But you're crashing on the bar. You got that white water. You put that jet ski in the white water, go up and down, north and south, wait for your timing, and go right out. And then you could bring the person right in. It's really unique. So,
like as much as we love boats, the jet ski does everything the boat will do, and probably better.
Way better. It's like I think it's actually safer.
Yeah, and I would be hard pressed to find a scenario where I would prefer a boat over a jet ski.
Yeah. The only problem is that, when you get that hot with that just banging, it doesn't happen all the time.
And also you do get the situation sometimes where the foam is the white water, right? Is so frothy and foamy that the ski's not pulling or grabbing any water, and you're dead in the water. And that's a situation where the boat would be more easily maneuverable.
Yeah. I like a board, I like a board because the surfers get out there. Listen, I've surfed in big ocean in my day, and I've been out in all kinds of shit. If you know how to do the board and turtle it and get, you could get through a lot of heavy duty shit, So I think that in that case scenario, I would send a couple loose cans out with fins. I would send a couple boards out. If my girls who are really good with the board, I probably wouldn't do the boats, too dangerous. And I would try to get the jet ski if I can, and it's tough. And because if you get out there, enough people are out there with the boards or loose can, you could probably put the person on either the surfboard of the surfer or your board, and you could get them in real close and then time that break. The more, a lot of lifeguards, you can almost carry the guy in, so it's a tough one. But so, everything is different. I like the boards. I think it's a great idea. I think the beaches that have the boards on a sling next to the ATV, on an ATV, and you drive down, especially maybe on the off season, because that's the perfect scenario for a board. And I could have 5 people hanging on a board. Let's just say you're driving down, and say it's one of these off season days on a beach, and there's 3-4 people on a run. You're by yourself. You're going to get help, but man, you take that board out, you're out there quick. I could beat there's not too many swimmers who are going to beat a board out.
Yeah, no, not.
And it's if it's wobbly, if it's big ocean, but that's technique. You get that board out, everybody's holding on to it. You could talk to them, you could calm them down. I think it's a great thing. Again,
the most important thing on the rescue is getting there and calming the victim down. Because once you have the victim on the can or the board, odds of the victim surviving increase exponentially.
Yeah. The real problem is when you get out there and somebody who is unconscious, which unfortunately, thank God for us, we haven't had that too much. That's usually when there's no lifeguards around, somebody's been out there a long time, or we have people who have had seizures, but we're really good. We get right on it. We're lucky. We watch the water real hard. We have multiple eyes on the water. So if anybody does have some kind of seizure and they go down quickly, we usually see it. And the other thing too is in that scenario, there's a bunch of people left and right and all around them. Their friends are there and they might help them out. But so anyway, we learned. So what did we learn today? Different types of rescue equipment. Every beach, I think every beach should have as much as they can. It's another tool in your box. A boat, like, say, when would you use a boat? Like for a rescue, let's just say that there's a day where there's a lot of bullnose rays, stingrays. and they're out there, and when they eat feeding, their fins come up like this, and they look like sharks, and everybody's getting scared. They don't want to go in the water. We launch a boat. We go out there. You know, we just, row around. People get all mellow. You know, they're like, oh, they don't feel as bad. I like patrolling with the boat. We don't do it as much anymore, but it's a really great day on a west wind day. People are blowing out. If they got their rafts and stuff, you go out there with the boat and you tell them go back in. It's great workout. You go back and forth.
Yeah, it's a nice break from the routine for us too.
Right. And and it's great exercise. The boat also, we start in May and June. The water could be in the 50s. Well, you know, you want to work out, you could swim in the bay, but you take a paddle board out, you take a rowboat out, and you get good training. It's cross training.
Yep.
So it's all good. So anyway,
yeah, we got to wrap.
Yeah,
this
let's
up.
go. So we got to wrap it up. You got to get going. So listen, Tyler, thank you very much.
Not a problem.
It's been a great show. Listen, so February 8th, hopefully John Moore will be here. Want to give everybody a heads up on that. How about you guys get a hold of us on, if anybody wants to give us a call, contact us, come on the show or comment. It's drkachmar at iCloud.com. Dr. Kachmar, iCloud.com. And also
check out the Instagram at lg.association.
Right. And
you can head to Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center for more information on the Dr. Kachmar network of podcasts.
Yeah, we're gonna start our product line soon. I can't wait. And what else? Anything else?
Thing. Oh,
we're on Rumble. We're
subscribe.
on Rumble.
Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Leave us a comment. Shoot us an email. Let us know what you guys think.
We're on Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble now.
And Rumble. We're live on Rumble right now. With our 4 subscribers on that platform, which is pretty cool. We got 1 more subscriber. We got 80 on YouTube.
Wow.
So
there you go. Listen, that's another thing. Please, 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 please go to our channel and subscribe.
I'm just
saying again, I'm giving my plea. It's going to help us to continue on to deliver and give you this, this quality show, this education. And that'll help us the more we get, and that's great.
Yeah, and if there's a topic you guys want to know more about or want us to look into for you, just shoot us an email, leave a comment on a video, and we'll be happy to check it out and do our best to answer whatever questions you have.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, listen, let's say goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next week, next Tuesday. We'll be here.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean wasn't here.
Every Tuesday.
Hopefully, Sean will be here.
Yeah, Sean's off at university studying journalism.
Right. Well,
so he can increase the quality of this podcast.
Right. If anybody wants to see me Friday, we're going to do our scrubbing up with Dr. Michael Kachmar, and I think Sean might be on that show. I'm a class project for him. He's supposed to interview me or something about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to be on.
I'll tell you what. This show is the perfect senior project for a journalism major.
Yeah. That's what he's doing. Yeah. So anyway, listen, thank you very much. And Tyler, why don't you take us out? Huh?
Yes.
Take us out.
Stay out
and
stay alive.
I love that. Stay out and stay